Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon on accelerating business growth. Really focusing on the digital side of things today. I'm Andy Pratt, been in business transformation for about 25 years now. And today I was hoping to just share what the market looks like really in terms of online. Talk about some of the barriers that are preventing people sort of maximising the opportunities that's bringing to build growth, and then some aspects that we need to consider to avoid these kind of pitfalls really. In terms of the session today, please feel free to ask questions. If you move your mouse to the bottom, you'll find a Q&A box. So if you want to enter any questions you may have in there, and what we'll do at the end is I'll go through those and answer as many as we can, or we can always sort of come back to you if we run out of time. So moving on, the first thing I wanted to do really is just give you a view of where the market is today generally, and I don't think there'll be many of you who will be surprised about how quickly online is growing generally, and particularly stimulated by recent events. So some numbers around there, doing some research. So global e-commerce is expected to reach about 4.2 trillion in this calendar year. And when we look at how that's growing and how the market's evolving, interestingly, if we look at the UK in particular, people are now buying groceries 38% of the time through online, so which is a massive increase in recent times. And interestingly, the UK is the actual highest growth rate across the world, actually, when we look at the top 10. And this is also reflected in business to business. So we're finding more millennials are becoming buyers in a B2B context. So a recent study by Google found that over 50% of buyers these days are actual millennials, and that's gone up by a factor of 2 since 2012. So people who are really familiar with using online tools. They also revealed that 74% of buyers researched about half of their purchase online, and there was about an average of about 12 searches before a purchase was made. So again, just re-emphasizing where I think we all knew the market was going with this. So COVID has had an impact, as you'd expect. Again, just looking at some of the stats to back that up, over 15% of the people buying online in March had actually never bought anything before online. So we're seeing a tranche of new people who are sort of becoming more and more familiar with online generally, making purchases. And sales were up about 19% this year, which is quite a significant hike compared to last year. And again, UK kind of trailing the blaze there really. So if we now look at how that reflects on our particular sector, which is distribution, we produce an analysis, and this is tracking the revenues and transactions that go through online within our particular industry. So if you look at the graph, we can see a gold coloured line, which is the revenues taken through online, and the sort of greeny blue colour is the number of transactions that are going through online. And as you can see, from April sort of 2016, which is where this graph starts, we can see a steady growth of both of those going forward. And the graph is showing the percentage of that particular time in relation to the peak, the peak of those particular graphs, which has actually been in the most recent numbers that have come out. So record quarter again. So when I look at this chart, there's a couple of interesting features on there. We can see the two dips in April 20 and in December 20. Don't really need much explanation there, obviously, as demand dried up. but we can see the recoveries have been quite strong. So immediately after those periods of lockdown, basically, distribution business found their online revenues just about returning to the trend on both of those lines. The market, or from what I hear in the markets anyway, there's still people recovering and demand not quite back to where it was. So even though we've had a peak demand in the last quarter, it'd be really interesting to see what that looks like when things are back to normal. It probably supports the analysis that COVID has actually stimulated some significant steps forward in terms of online usage through people's familiarization. The other thing I found quite interesting is when you compare the growth rate between transactions and revenues, we can see that transactions have actually been growing at a faster rate generally than the revenue. And the analysis we can put behind this is that people are basically placing a larger number of orders through online than they have traditionally done through sort of more traditional channels. So probably due to the ease of use and convenience, people are finding that it's really easy to go on just top up orders and that kind of things, even though the revenue streams are, although growing, are not growing quite as fast. So again, just really underlining that kind of convenience levels, really. So there's no doubt about the demand. Lots of opportunities to exploit that going forward. And what I want to move on now is some of the barriers that we see to sort of jumping on the coattails of this and actually maximising the growth that's available. So there's no doubt about it. Demand is growing, and as people introduce online facilities, it's been acting like a vacuum for that demand, and people are having great success in getting their customers recruited. And there are opportunities. Why do you go online? It's because customers are expecting it, and also it offers a very cost-effective sales channel for the business. And although people can look at cost being a major return on investment of online, there really are issues that are preventing business actually making the most of that, which we'll kind of move on to, really. So first of all, just really user experience. It's really important that the users fall in love with the site, really. They find it easy to use, they've got the functionality and the relevant journeys that they need to make using that site very simple, easy and intuitive and pleasant experience. Lots of people are very visually orientated, and having a site that looks a bit agricultural and a bit mechanical can be a barrier for those people adopting it. So making sure that that's absolutely tuned and tuned for the particular the audience is very important. Coupled with that is really mobile. Mobile is the predominant browsing device on the web these days, and I think everybody will know that it's important to have a mobile channel. But there are still poor experiences, often with apps being used to kind of deliver that kind of online experience, and not having that will obviously dissuade your customers from getting on there and growing their business through there. Analytics, so monitoring, just like any other sales channel, making sure that you're going in the right direction with it. There are plenty of tools available and plenty of technologies and techniques to do that will help you analyze where you might be going wrong, where revenue opportunities are that you're missing, and actually having the flexibility to do something about that. So if people tend to be dropping out of your site at the checkout, we can identify that and then look at how maybe the user journey through that kind of checkout process is destroying that kind of confidence, really. Integration is always a challenge. It's usually one of the most difficult things to achieve properly within an e-commerce implementation. But having the integration right is extremely important in terms of delivering consistent, relative, accurate information to the customer, and also driving the level of customer services you're looking to do by exposing as much of your service information as you can. So not only being able to buy, look at product information, but being able to access customer service information, look at finance position, reprint invoices and those kind of things, and the integration is critical to your back office systems there. Having the right skills in the business. E-commerce is becoming more and more sophisticated, and like any channel, it needs that investment to make sure that you're leading the field and differentiating yourself in the market. So we need people who know what they're doing, who use the digital world, either within your company ideally, or working in collaboration with partners to deliver that kind of skill set. And finally, really wrapping all this up is the investment levels. So it's always tempting to look at e-commerce from a cost perspective, but with the amount of opportunities and growth potential there, then making sure that the right level of investment in those kind of channel will reap massive rewards, and we'll come to some of those as we go through. So what I wanted to do is just move on to some of the ways that we can boost growth through online, and some of the things and techniques which are being utilised today in the market. And I think the first one is really about the platforms people choose. So there are an awful lot of the plethora of e-commerce platforms out there, from very simple, very almost freeware that people use, all the way up to sort of large, very expensive sort of tier one vendors. And getting that balance is absolutely critical, particularly when people are going into the online experience. It's always tempting to try and keep the investment low, but going too low can lead you into a platform that doesn't scale and doesn't have some of the facilities that are required. And the investment isn't just about the platform, it's about the people as well, and putting the right skills and knowledge to actually leverage that technology to move things forward. Sophisticated e-commerce platforms are sophisticated, then they need some understanding and skill sets to drive that, either internally or through partners. So creating a relevant customer experience. We find that this is really very industry focused. So different industry sectors have different requirements. Certainly between B2B and B2C, the kind of expectations and the usability scenarios of the sites can be quite varied. And it's important to align your site with the expectations of your customer. So making sure that the journeys are correct. So for example, I was talking to somebody recently who was having difficulty attracting customers onto their site from trying to move people from a modern e-commerce platform, from a fairly 15-year-old traditional e-commerce, very basic e-commerce platform. And they're having a stickiness problem in reverse with the old website, because there's some certain functionality on there that the customers loved. It was very basic, but it just did exactly what they wanted. So obviously adopting that functionality on the new site is essential to make it a success. So you've got to put yourself in the customer's shoes. You've got to use the experience of partners to advise you on the best ways to do that. And you've got to continually review how it's working and refine the experience and the journeys and the usability as you go forward through a lifetime. So kind of coupled with that is content, and providing really great content on your site will drive both retention, customer retention, and also more revenue opportunities. So here we have some examples. We can see that on the top center we have a fairly clear home page with clear product group links. Below that, we have an area which is offering some value in terms of menu ideas. So this is being aimed at the food and drink and food service sector. And then in the bottom right, we can see an example of where content's being combined with commerce. So as people click on the center screen menu ideas, drill into that kind of menu for this chicken and chorizo jambalaya, then we can see information on there which is about the products that go into there. They can click and buy them. So it's sort of rounding that whole experience and encouraging customers to explore who might just usually go on and buy certain products all the time, down to a channel to stimulate their ideas and maybe try new products, etc. Keeping content unique is also important. It helps with search engine optimization and your rankings on search engines and things of that nature. It can also make you a very go-to resource for your customers in the market. So people will hopefully come to you rather than your competitors and general sites for value-added service and information. So merchandising is really the term we use for organizing products, deciding how you push those forward and those kind of aspects of the site. And online offers some great opportunities to grow revenues from techniques like upselling and cross-selling. I mean, I've seen numbers reporting that people are doing 35% additional revenues for their sites from these kind of tools. Now, that might be a little bit extreme, but there are genuine big gains to be had within using merchandising techniques on your sites. But when you look at online compared to traditional channels, you find that you can do this much more subtly and much less intrusively to the customer. So you can present things like cross-selling alternative products or products they want to consider or best sellers in a fairly easy way that the customer can catch their eye, but doesn't necessarily get in the way of their normal process unless they want it. So on the slides, we can see an example of some bestsellers which can be used to drive interest. On the right-hand side, we have a product card which indicates it's on special offer, so drawing the customer attention to potential bargains. And then another example of merchandising is at the bottom of the screen, which is about the way that searches are executed. So being able to manipulate searches to bring your high margin products to the top and those kind of things. Other techniques like substitution. So where you can't offer a product, you're offering something else, which obviously avoids having to lose a sale and potentially have your customers looking elsewhere. As said at the head of the session, can be a real challenge to achieve effectively. But it's really important to achieve consistency in your service delivery to your customer and get them retained, but also to reduce the maintenance of your online platforms. This can drive people to use sort of default ERPs or back office system web offerings, which are pre-connected, but really missing opportunities for the sophisticated, more of the sort of specialist systems that are out there. But things are improving. We are more and more ERP systems are using to API connectivity, and those can be used and consumed by websites to actually grab information directly from a single point of reference. So, for example, on these two screens, we can see a list of promotions which is being brought back in real time from a back office system. And then on the bottom right, we can see a customer dashboard, which is surfacing information like invoices, statements, recent transactions, and all those kind of good things through direct integration into the back office system. So really making a big difference to the experience and the facilities that are made available. Just kind of rounding this off really, and just trying to illustrate a particular point in terms of level of investment. I mean, all we've talked about so far requires investment in time and capital, of course. But when we look at the difference this can make, we can see some quite significant benefits. So on this chart, we've got a red line, and that's really there to illustrate a customer who has implemented a site with minimum investment. It will leverage return because there's pent-up demand there. And as over the initial lifespan of the site, that will grow quickly and then start to tail off as through natural kind of smoothing. The green line represents the potential additional benefit of adopting some of the things we've been talking about and actually putting some more thought and investment into online. So although there's a cost there, the revenue and the growth opportunities are just so much higher that overall your net margins would be obviously higher. So to wrap up, I think what I'd like to really just illustrate again is the market is right. There's never been a better time to grow the business through using digital. Thanks to COVID in some degree, but the general growth in the market. We encourage the use of specialist platforms. These are the people investing in the tools and technologies that you need. And from your point of view, generating fantastic content within there to actually drive the success of the site, using merchandising tools to maximize basket sizes and increase sales, and building that tight integration with your back office systems, which, as I say, does require a degree of investment. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I'd be very interested to hear from you, or if you wanted to get in touch, then my details are on the screen. So what I'll do now is just check, see if we've had any questions come through. So just bear with me. Okay, so we've just got one question today, actually. It says he talks about analytics and refinement. What things are you talking about? So there are a number of tools available in varying degrees of sophistication to track usage and see how your site's performing and how it can be grown. So that can be from simple things as abandoned baskets or search terms used. So if people are constantly typing for chili beans, but you don't have any chili beans, then obviously that will give you your merchandisers and buyers maybe food for thought in terms of what they're putting on the site. We can also use tools that track users' journeys around the website, so we can see where they land and where they're going and where they abandon and where they spend time, allowing you to actually work out how which sites are which areas of the site are working the best, and then using flexibility of platforms to actually improve and enhance that as you're going along, because these things are obviously an ongoing journey, and just like any sales channels, need a lot of sort of care and attention to get the best benefits out of them. So there's no more questions. If anybody has any questions, then please feel free to email me. And I thank you for your time and hope you've found it useful and enjoyable. Thank you. Bye.